Elementary School, 12 Dickinson Drive.
Okay, what's going on down there?
I believe they're shooting at the front glass. Something's going on.
I want you to take cover. Jen, get everybody you can going down there.
It's still happening.
I don't want to stay.
I'm shooting at someone's elementary school. I'm just shooting outside. I'm going to call you up after Hill of Penn, take a left, go straight to the right of the hill, and then stick us on your right.
State police emergency. Is this the shooting in Newtown?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Do you have anybody with you right now? Do you have any children with you?
I have no children. I have 5 adults and one's been shot twice.
One's been shot twice. Do you know how to administer first aid?
No.
Can you put pressure on her wounds?
No.
To stop? You can't? What's going on? Talk to me.
She's fucking right outside the door. I don't want to move. Please, Jesus. Please, Jesus.
Okay. No, that's okay. Just try to stay calm, okay? All right?
Please, Jesus.
Okay.
Please, Jesus. Please, Jesus.
Okay. All right. You're going to be all right.
My brother-in-law called me and said, well, what's going on? And I said, well, I can't talk to you now. I have to, there's some kids on my lawn. I don't know why they're there. I walked up to them, and they looked horrible. They looked horrible. They were out of breath. And I could tell they had been crying, but they were quiet in there. They were quiet in their abject fear and terror. And then the 2 boys just start talking. They start describing what had happened. You only had a big gun and a small gun. They just kept exclaiming, we can't go back. We can't go back to that school because we don't have a teacher.
Mom told me he heard toot 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 toot. The teacher closed the door and they are hearing a loudspeaker. Everything, screaming and crying and sound. Then they asked, then teacher told a story. One fox came in the school and he killed some of his friends.
Do you see anything or hear anything more?
I keep hearing shooting. I keep hearing popping.
Do you have your door barricaded?
No, I'm on the floor.
Okay. Is there a way that you lock the door?
No, there's no lock here. The person's in the office.
He's in the office?
I can hear it on the loudspeaker, yeah.
I just sat with my class and we listened to 154 shots ringing through the loudspeaker.
There's still shooting going on, please.
A couple of kids were laughing. It was like a strange laugh, like they didn't know what was going on. And one kid who kept kind of scooching away. And like I said, I just had this instinct. I just wanted everybody together. And I kept saying, come over here, come over here.
Anyone hurt? Do you see anyone?
We don't know, but we smell fire from the gunshot.
Do you see the shooter?
I could see through the crack in the back of my desk, him standing right at my doorway, not barely 20 feet away, if that.
He's still in the building.
So, I mean, the shooting went on for what seemed like forever. We just kept saying, stop, you know, and I mean, and then it stopped.
Rick?
Yes.
All right, what do you hear now?
It's silent.
Thank you, the police officer just came in.
Is there a policeman there?
Yes.
Okay.
I remember getting into that room.
All right, you guys are okay.
I was the police officer she was referring to. I don't think that any of us that were in there feel that anybody needs to know specifically what we saw. Emotionally, I think the world needs to know to understand it. I don't think they need to know graphically what occurred in there.
Came at about 20 minutes before 10 this morning of a shooting. What's believe there was one shooter, a male, who is now dead. And the reports we're getting from law enforcement is that of the 26 dead, most are children.
Alright, it's 20 after 12. So we just picked up Natalie early at school. Sweepy's getting all dressed and ready. We're going to go pick up James, and then we're going to go to Daniel's concert.
That was great. What a concert. James, I think James is looking for a hug.
I look at these pictures and it's like it's still then, you know, everything is the way it should be. Everything looks the way it should be. This was Sunday, December 9th of 2012. It was, we were out at the tree farm getting our tree. So this is kind of like the last few days of life as we knew it. They were all taking turns cutting down the tree. And of course, little Daniel was making sure everybody had their fair time. So the bus would come down to the corner, and Daniel would wait here, and he would race. Mr. Wheeler would stop halfway down the block here and rev the engine, and Daniel would race him. I still dread that every day I live, I'm one day farther away from my life with Daniel. I didn't want to take the clothes out of his drawer. I didn't want to touch anything. I wanted to leave everything just the way it was. So Jackie actually had her sisters while we were away one weekend clean out all the drawers. And I still have a little secrets stashed around. He used to wear this old yellow football helmet when we'd ride in the little seat in the back of my bicycle. And I have that in the garage, and it still has some beautiful little long blonde hairs of his in it. I'll keep that forever. I was so intimately connected to every little nuance of his life. But there was this significant gap at the end of his little life that I knew nothing about. I have, and I still have, this need to know what he experienced. And I guess you can only try to imagine how unbelievably difficult and challenging that is. To try to their 7-year-old experienced as he was being murdered by a gunman in his first grade classroom. Christmas Eve morning. Natalie's on her way delivering her gifts. She and Daniel. We're walking down to the Moulins now. Make sure you tell them Merry Christmas.
Yes, we have.
The Bardens and our kids were like interchangeable. We had met the Bardens in our own yard, and it was like a godsend. It was amazing to think that there was this family that moved in that had 3 children, the same ages as our kids, boy, girl, boy, and we had boy, girl, boy, and our kids took to each other like they had known each other their whole lives. And Kyle and Daniel were like 2 peas in a pod together. They were just as comfortable at my house as they were at their house. And Mark was my go-to because he was home mostly during the day. I would get a call, all right, I'll take the girls, you want to take the boys, or send all 3 kids up.
All right, now what? What's next?
Stop to house.
Okay, you're going.
We developed this Friday night routine, I'll probably cry, which was something that we all looked forward to, if I could speak for everybody. It would be a phone call early Friday morning. Are you guys free? Yeah, we're free. I'll bring the dessert, you get the pizza, and we'll see you later after work and after school. And so every Friday night we would get together, and we would have pizza. It was really a good life.
I have to say, Daniel's funeral was kind of a hazy memory out of a weird dream for me. But we did manage to attend quite a few of the other children's funerals, and witness Father Bob saying funeral mass after funeral mass for 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds.
I can't answer the questions. I don't know how this could have happened. Shoots open a window, reaches in, and pushes open a door. It destroys lives. I don't think a community can ever be prepared, especially a small town, can ever be prepared for something like this. It's fearful. It's really fearful that people's lives can be so disrupted so quickly, forever. There's no making up for this. It just, the foundation got cracked. And everybody's not certain how wide that crack is going to get.
That day I was in physics class, and all of a sudden I remember my principal, Mr. Dumais, came on the loudspeaker and said, "Everybody must go into lockdown, this is not a drill." I was with one of my friends, and her mom was a teacher at Sandy Hook Elementary School as well. And so I went over to her, and she had already looked on her phone and seen what was happening too. And we sat there for a long time, waiting to get the text about our moms.
there was a lot of shouting right outside my door. "Newtown police!" You know, banging on the door. "Get Newtown police!" I opened the door, and the kids just ran. They just scattered. Shortly thereafter, I spoke to my husband, and I remember saying something like, "It's bad, right? Don't tell me, but it's bad." And he said, "They don't know yet. They just don't really know yet." And then the next time I talked to him, you know, he was crying on the phone. He said, "It's really bad. There are a lot of kids dead."
When we got in the car with my mom, she just said, "I love you and I'm okay," but a lot of people aren't. I think a lot of my friends aren't.
Is there a day that I don't think about it? I don't think there's an hour or a couple hours I'm not thinking of something about it. When I went back to work, I know the first 2 days, I was not there. I was working, I wasn't there.
How do you get through your days?
The kids at the school, the laughing, smiling.
It was the elephant in the room for a long time. Some kids wanted to talk about it, some kids didn't. My students who had Miss Soto were devastated, and they would look up at me every day and say, "I miss Miss Soto." And I was like looking for something to say to that. What do you say to that? And I would just hug them.
The teachers, the staff, we understand each other. We don't even have to speak, and we know.
People came back to the school, and I felt like there's no way I can go back. There's no way I can put anything in order.
You know, you say, you know, I wanted to be there for the kids, but I was able to be there because of the kids. And I would get up in the morning and go, "Oh my God, I don't want to go." But then I'd go, "But if the kids can be there, how could I not be there?"
We were all still in shock. We had a spreadsheet for 26 funerals. It's crazy.
2 or 3 a day.
Yep, I was calling.
You know, we really had to put aside the grieving, not just for the kids, but for the adults. I mean, how do you grieve for 26 people all at the same time? You know, the story that I always think about is Dawn and Mary and their colleagues who were all together in a conference room meeting with a parent. And Dawn's immediate reaction to get up and go, you know, running out in the hallway, charging like a bull, all 5 feet of her. I know from my conversations with her family that it was evident, they could tell afterwards by the way her body had taken the bullets that had killed her, that she was lunging at him. And that just says exactly the kind of woman she was, you know, to go after a guy like she was going to take him down, who was, you know, shooting his AR-15 at her.
It was so surreal. It's still days I go, it really happened. You know, this really happened. And I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but that is the new point in my life. Things either happened before 12/14 or after 12/14. But it's like, it's a very different life now. Is it ever gonna stop?
I don't know.
I get it.
What is it?
Forever and ever.
Yeah. 4
And
The hardest moments were immediate. Within hours, my surviving son expressed fear. And what does a father say? What does every father in the world say? Don't worry, it's going to be okay. And his immediate response was, as you might imagine, that's what you said to Ben.
Ben. That's me. See the resemblance? That's Ben. That's me, my dad, and Ben. So amazing.
My brain says, well, I just want to keep talking about Ben. Can I keep talking about Ben?
Right.
I want to talk about Ben all the time because I want him to stay alive.
Right. Right.
And, you know, people ask us about Nate and Maddie, which is wonderful. But now I've started signing my cards. Love, David, Francine, Nate, Maddie, and Ben Spirit. Because if I don't write that, I feel like people are going to forget him. You know, I was looking at a letter to the families recently, and it was individually, they were naming every victim. And my brain said, well, maybe his name won't be on the list. And maybe he'll just be alive. You know, these crazy things, you know, I'm still there.
Oh, hi. Great to see you. Hi, welcome to the Ben Wheeler Show. Today, the tornadoes are coming, and the elevators...
And Benny was a challenge. A 6-year-old boy with that much energy. Dinner table was so hard because he was just all over the place.
Oh, now to go and have some popsicles. Bye.
Francine's uncle took this amazing picture of him when he was 3 or 4. It's up in the living room, and he's jumping into a puddle, and he's, you know, above the air. And her uncle titled it Flying Boy. And that's who he was. He was so rarely connected to the earth. He was just, nothing was ever moved fast enough for him. If he got 5 stickers in a row, he would get some kind of positive reinforcement. Look at this gentle body, no licking, no biting. Great table manners. Not so good. You know, the way everyone does, you mark your kid's height on the wall. This is Nate's here, and Benny's here, starting in January of '09, and then in November of 2012, he was here. And I don't remember exactly when Nate wrote this, but he came down here on his own, I think. It wasn't prompted in any way. We're all terrified of forgetting what he looked like, what he sounded like. So I will go back to a video or a picture or something just to, you know, to have him back.
I have these memories, I have these pictures, I have hair and teeth, and yet you go through these crazy motions of like, am I just dreaming all of this? I still keep expecting him to be there, but have I just gone insane? Is this real? Did he even ever exist?
is most of the stuff that's been, I don't even know how many thousands of letters and gifts and portraits. So many of them have never been opened because I just can't do that yet.
I'm gonna be in a Waluigi. No, you're catching up! Sugar.
Jake was in 3rd grade at the time of the shooting. He was at school that day. He describes 12/14 as the day hell came to his school. He has gone through cycles of grief the same as any adult. And we went through a period where he didn't want to talk about Dylan. He didn't want us to mention his name. He wanted us to take down all the photos of Dylan in the house. Lights always have to be on now. You know, he's 10 now, and you get to the point where your imagination of monsters under the bed, and he's seen the real monsters, unfortunately.
Good evening. We lost our son Benjamin the morning of December 14th to an unstable, suicidal individual who had access to a weapon that has no place in a home. Right now, professionals in every area pertaining to this crime, from mental health to parenting to school safety, are unable to connect the necessary dots to prevent this from happening again. When I look at this event, I see these dominoes, each of them very specific, that had to line up that way that morning for things to happen the way they did here. And when I look at that, all I see are the spaces in between where somebody, somewhere along the way, could have stopped the next domino from falling. The liberty of any person to own a military-style assault weapon and a high-capacity magazine and keep them in their home is second to the right of my son to his life. His life. Let's honor the founding documents and get our priorities straight. Thank you. What happened to our children was transforming in ways you can never anticipate. And there is an immediate human desire to just not to protect the rest of the world from having to go through this.
My name is Lori Bayette. I am a volunteer EMT for NEWTOWN Volunteer Ambulance Corps, and I staff every Friday. In the early morning of December 14th...
We had no idea there was a shooting. It was never, we were staging. I thought it might have been a domestic. And a woman was given to us, and I was so happy to see her because she was injured, but not life-threatening at all. And I thought, okay, this is it. This is great. I mean, I saw all the police go in. I don't know exactly what's going on, but here's this patient who's going to make it. This is good. We load her up. Great. And I'm in the back, ready to rock and roll, and the door swings back open, and there's a paramedic with and that just changed everything. And then to know that that was just one of many was disgusting, was horrible. But that's what a tragedy is, I guess. Unexpected, absolute horribleness.
Daddy!
You don't want your coat?
Oh. Daddy, he said, Dad!
Oh, my goodness. You're just coming home at 12:30 and then you're here until soccer?
And then are you doing chords tonight, James?
In the first year, we were alternating our meltdowns. Sometimes we'd melt down together, and then the kids would come to our aid. James and Natalie would just emerge from wherever they were and put their arms around us, literally.
There's a little more in there.
Who knows how to do this? There's no way to do this. And we don't want to sweep it under the rug. And at the same time, we don't want to dwell on it.
If I'm gonna nuke it, you can put more.
And even with my wife, Jackie, I feel like if I'm having a moment, I don't want to bring that on her if she's having a good moment.
I didn't like seeing my parents like all upset, and they definitely like were upset a lot longer and a lot more than I was. And then they'd always feel bad, like, oh, I shouldn't be crying in front of you because it's making you upset, but then I'd feel bad because they were trying to like not like think about it because of me.
I remember before Natalie came back, teacher said that she just wanted to be treated like nothing happened. So that's like what we all did.
Mm-hmm. To me, NEWTOWN was always just like this perfect, I mean, I love NEWTOWN, so
Yeah.
It was always just like this perfect little town, and like everything is so safe, and everything is so, I mean, everyone is so nice here.
Yeah.
I would never expect that somebody like that would be like just around the corner.
I feel like because he was, I don't know how to say it, but he
disturbed or something.
Yeah. But I feel like she should have been more careful. And she let him do what he wanted.
Yeah.
And she had the guns in the house.
Like if you have a gun and you have a son, you should have it in a safe and maybe not let him know the code.
So this was my driveway, and the shooter's house is kind of kitty corner to us over here.
Part of me really wanted to go and see it come down, but I probably just spit at the house as it came down, to be perfectly honest.
You know your neighbors' houses. You just don't always know your neighbors. Yeah.
I'm always thinking about the shooter and his mother in particular.
I'm certainly not into a space of forgiveness yet. Might never be. I don't know. If he had lived, if he hadn't committed suicide, I wouldn't forgive him at all. And I don't forgive his mother for giving him access to the weapons either. And after 12, 14, I used to have dreams about it. It's these crazy superhero dreams.
dreams where I'm in the classroom and I'm able to stop, and more dreams where I'm in the classroom and I'm not able to stop, and I die with Dylan, but I'm with my son.
Dr. Begg, did you actually treat Sandy Hook victims?
Yes, I was in the ER that day when the victims came in.
Can you describe the kinds of wounds and the number of bullets in these small bodies?
Most of the victims actually didn't come in, and we have such horrific injuries to little bodies. That's what happens. They don't even make it to the hospital. The coroner from the state of Connecticut, when he did his review, and this is public knowledge, stated that each body had 3 to 11 bullets. Okay. When a child has 3 to 11 bullets in them, and it's an assault type bullet that explodes inside the body, it doesn't go through a straight line. It goes in and then it opens up. That's not a survivable injury. This is a public health issue. 30,000 people a year die. Folks who have cancer and stroke and heart attack, there's a lot of research, but there's not the research. There's just anecdotes.
On the day of Sandy Hook,
but the data that's out
I knew that a lot of children had already been killed and may not be coming in. But I only let the staff know that there were a couple coming in, the ones that we knew, because about a third of the staff we had actively working were from NEWTOWN, such as me, and many of them had children in the school systems at that time. And so, as it turns out, we ended up getting just a couple of the victims, and we tried our best. We tried our best, and we were unsuccessful. I'm not an activist, but I said to myself that day that I'm not taking this one. I'm not taking this one laying down.
As somebody who was so close to losing the person that I love most in my life, I knew that in honor of the people who I knew who died, a lot of the teachers who died, I knew them, I needed to do something. I went with my dad and about 100 others from NEWTOWN, and we ended up leading this march of like 6,000 Americans.
There's a picture of Sarah holding up a sign when she and her dad went to the March on Washington in January following the tragedy, and there's a little spark in her eye, but kind of a look of like, I'm not really sure what I'm about to get into, but this is big.
12 relatives of Sandy Hook victims caught a ride to Washington aboard Air Force One Monday night after the president came to their state to hail Connecticut's sweeping new gun laws.
So Connecticut's shown the way. And now is the time for Congress to do the same.
Families of 8 NEWTOWN victims will be back on Capitol Hill today. Tragedy has turned them into accidental lobbyists pushing for new gun restrictions.
I'm a guitar player. I don't belong in the halls of Congress trying to change the world, but here we are.
I was very naive going into this, okay? And I thought making sure that everybody that purchases firearms should have to go through a background check. I thought that was the low-hanging fruit, and that, if anything, that's going to get through.
What larger job description do they have than keeping their constituents safe? What's a bigger line item in their job description?
We're
are committed, completely committed to seeing this through for all the changes that help eliminate the causes of gun violence.
We were downstairs in the basement of the Senate when we started getting news that it looked like senators who saw that it may not pass then were jumping ship. And I was just incredulous, like, are you kidding me?
The gun control legislation that was supposed to tighten background checks was defeated today in the U.S. Senate.
We are here now. We will always be here because we have no other choice. We are not going away. And every day, as more people are killed in this country because of gun violence, our determination grows stronger.
Let's click the link and see where it goes.
I do think of Mark as a brother because we work together very closely. We can sense what each other is feeling and protect each other when necessary because we've chosen a similar path of what we want to do to honor our children. That's a bond for life now with that family.
Cool. Thank you.
I will always have their back. And I believe that they'll always have mine as well.
Yes, I know you're on a tight time schedule. Make sure you get a chance to meet Nicole.
Hi. Hey, Kim Jacobs.
Very nice to meet you.
I'm sorry for your loss, though. Thank you. I appreciate it. Absolutely. As a member of a major city chiefs organization, right after Sandy Hook happened, we received a briefing about the horror that actually transpired. We heard all the politicians talking about something's got to be done. And now the politicians have backed off, and guess what? It's not on the agenda anymore.
So this is my son, Dylan. This is when he was about 4 years old. And this was taken about 4 months before he died. He needed me in a different way than Jake needed me. He was always close. When we first found out that Dylan was autistic, Ian and I went through a mini grieving process, knowing that he might never lead an independent life. He might struggle to make loving relationships. Then he opened our eyes up in a very different way. The way he would look at things and make me stop and get down to his level and look at things with him. Colors are seen differently, sounds are heard differently, textures are felt differently. He actually added so much more to this family than we even realized at the time. It kills me. Because I don't think people realize every day it's like taking my heart out and doing that all over again. And then at the end of the day, you just take all the tattered remains and shove it back in and wake up to do it again the next day.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay, Pastor Jenny.
I always hate to take y'all to the deep places. But I knew that that's where you were going towards the end, so I'm so grateful that you were able to share that. I know that's hard. Channel 4 would like to talk with you a little bit more tonight. I know if that's okay.
Well said. Talk to me about your son, if you will. What do I need to know?
Dylan, every parent thinks their child is special, so I'm no different in that regard. Dylan was an absolute brave son. Hey, how you doing? You're sideways. You're still sideways. Where are you? That's not our house. Are you in the bathroom? You're on the toilet right now. Oh man, you crack me up, kid.
It never goes away. It just never really goes away. I mean, standing at the door of that school and seeing that broken glass, hearing that crunching. I hear that still in my sleep.
You know, Easter marks for us the hope that every springtime holds for us. It gives us that promise that there is new life. For too many hours and for too many days, we've been caught up in a very gray winter. And now the days grow longer. The darkness grows less.
We're not going to let the darkness overwhelm us, but the darkness is there. It's still part of life, and you go in the parking lot when the parents are picking the kids up, and you still see they're apprehensive. Is my child coming out? Nothing has happened. There's been no worry, but you can see in their faces like, is my child's going to come out, right? It's just, you see that still in this community. What can I do? How can I be most effective in this situation? We're all victimized with this. You go through the teachers that were shot, you go through the 12 children that escaped, you go through all the first responders, then you start realizing the whole community's been victimized. And where do we go, to protect and preserve ourselves?
Here's the introduction, and then a couple of songs, and then you and I do. This is us. That's us.
You want to do it together still?
Yes.
Or?
If you're okay with that?
I'll do whatever you want me to do. You just, look at me. It's gonna be all right.
Every day we would drive by their house, every day. And I didn't know what to do. Do we stop by? Do we not stop by? Do I bring them dinner? It was uncharted territory. Because I think at the firehouse that day, there was such tragedy. And I don't think I understood that it would change everything.
There is a volunteer firehouse just adjacent to that school, and that is where teachers were told to take the children just as soon as they could.
Are there families there who don't know where their children are?
There are still families here who do not know where their children are, and they're not being told anything.
You could feel it. You could feel the emergency in the air. You could feel panic. There was all this murmuring going on. The principal was shot. There's a couple of shooters. There's kids in a bathroom. There's a lot of little snippets of information, but hadn't heard anything about kids at that point. And then and then there was the room with parents waiting for their kids. we just kind of waited, and then they brought the children out, and it was heartbreaking to see them. They were all holding hands in a line, and I saw my Kyle come, and true to his personality, I think he was skipping and holding somebody's hand, and he said, "Mom, I didn't cry, I didn't cry." And his teacher came behind, and she had a wild look on her face, and she said they heard it all. She said they heard it all. They heard the guns, they heard the screaming, but they heard it all. And then you look over where the first graders are, and there's so many parents with no children. And there was that feeling of, where are their kids? And then I saw Mark, and there was no Daniel. Then the governor came up and said, "We regret to let you know that 20 children were shot and killed in the school, as well as 6 educators." And when I tell you, the room erupted. It will forever be in my mind. This guy walked into the school and he went left. Why did he go left? Kyle was on the right, the second door on the right. You know, why did he go this way and not that way? I don't know. It's not fair. None of this is fair.
Benny loved this place. He loved Peter Rabbit's house. He loved to come here and play. And you can go inside and play around. It's a very beautiful playhouse. Isn't that sweet? If you look at any catastrophic event, there are going to be places where if that person had turned left instead of right, events would not have unfolded the way they did. But that's life. That's the chaos of the universe. And I previously found a certain amount of beauty in that chaos. And now the challenge is to continue to see the beauty in that chaos, because now the chaos has hurt me.
Demolition work has started at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. The school, of course, the site of that December 2012 mass shooting.
For the first several months, I could not imagine why anyone in the world would want to go back into that school. And one morning, and it was literally one morning, I woke up and I had to go. I knew the school was going to be torn down. And I had to see it before it was gone forever. It answered small, minor questions that turn into huge questions when you're unable to sleep. You know, where was he? What did it look like? How big was the room? What it gave me was a remarkable amount of respect and admiration for the men and women who were there. I didn't have a face-to-face meeting with the EMT who was with Ben, but she wrote us a lovely, lovely letter. She was afraid to write to us because she felt like she was forever going to be a terrible reminder of his loss. And I wrote her back and I said, that's not the case at all. You know, you are one of the good guys.
Yeah, that was a tough letter, but I could not send it if it makes any sense. I knew I had to say something. I knew I had to let him know that he was cared for, that there was love there. I mean, I went to the wake because I had to. They didn't know who I was at that point, and I went to give him a big hug, broke down completely, and then that was the last words I've ever spoken with him. It's just awkward when you walk around town and you see the faces that you see maybe on TV of the parents, and it's just, you know, what's the social norm for that? What do you say?
So she sailed on a day over the sea to sky. Take the northwest behind. Mary a soul, she sailed on a day over the sea to sky. Your police officers, your state troopers, your firefighters, can't say enough about them. Just amazing local talent here. Thank you so much.
Because of my role in there, some parents rightfully feel uncomfortable because it reminds them of things.
Okay? Yes. Good. I'm glad to see it. It's good to see you again. It's been a while.
Yes.
But I always recognize you when I see you.
Things are all right?
Yeah, we're doing okay. We'll be all right. You know, we're all in this together.
Well, it's the worst thing in the world happened to you. You just can't give up on all the love.
Absolutely. Anyway, you're a good man.
I do remember coming upon Dylan. And the only thing that I remember very specifically about it was that his teacher's arm was around him. And as odd as it seemed, I got a little comfort in knowing that he wasn't alone.
You just never know where it's going to come, what's going to trigger you, and bring back an emotion or a sound or a smell. You never know at what point you're right back to day one. And I guess that's something that's just going to be with me for the rest of my life, really. I had only recently seen a photo, and I suddenly looked at it and I thought, oh my God, that's me. And seeing me with my friend holding me.
And she just held me for the longest time. And that's kind of the last memory I have of being at the firehouse. I don't remember how I got home.
even then, you know, we stayed at our friend's house for a few days, and the cop who had to officially tell us that Dylan was dead, they took his photo. That's right, and a description of what he'd been wearing that day. And they came to the house at about 1:30 in the morning or some ridiculous hour to confirm to us that he was one of them. And even then I still thought something's gotta be wrong. This can't be. This just isn't supposed to happen. And it's funny, I remember when I saw him in his casket on my birthday. I thought that would be when I finally realized that he was dead. And even then I couldn't even really accept it because that was his body, but that's not Dee, because, you know, and I was holding his hand and I could see there was his torn cuticles and where he bit his nails. My son was full of life. So even then I couldn't. That's why I still just can't accept it. That's why sometimes traveling is easy for me. Because it's like I can imagine he's home. So when I come home from traveling, it's just... it's having to accept it all over again. And I don't know how you're supposed to get over something like this. Struggle to know what to say. Sometimes it's the exactly the same for me. Because it is, what do you say? And how do you put people at ease?
Right.
And because we're all in this together.
You know how many times I laid down in bed and just think of the unfairness of this whole thing. Now I didn't know Dylan, and somehow in the back of my head sometimes I feel like I missed out on something, because he was 6 then, my son, and when I told him about Dylan, he got quiet, and he just looked at me and goes, he didn't talk much, but he was such a nice boy.
Thanks. Because I don't really know what Dylan's classmates thought of him.
Right.
You know, because he was hard to he didn't often talk to me about his classmates because he couldn't really articulate it very well. And I know I've reached out to you and said that someday I want to hear from you about your son's experience, because there's a need to know as much detail as I can about Dylan's last moments, but I'm not ready for it.
No, I understand that. I mean, when you think about it, you could read all the newspapers you want, but at the end of the day, there's only 11 kids that know what happened. We had made it our point to remember specifics about that day, so we have that information. Whenever you guys are ready, we'd be, of course, willing to sit down and share what we know.
Yeah. Not today. Please. Not today.
Someday.
Someday. I'd like to, but I'm not ready for it. He was a good boy. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, please don't apologize. Don't ever apologize. It's okay. I need to know these things as well.
Good to see you. Thank you for coming up.
Okay. I don't know how I'm going to get up because I'm having... And this is there. You want to grab this, Mark, so I can put my...
Yeah.
Annual Daniel Martin Highland Mud Fest. Do you promise to live life to its fullest? I do. Do you promise to cherish family and friends? I do. Do you promise to love, laugh, and enjoy this moment? I do.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this, guys.
Thank you.
Every day I look at Kyle and I think, thank God for miracles. And I find myself having to take a breath before I talk about Kyle in front of them.
All good.
Because I don't want to cause them any more pain. Kyle has since taken to growing his hair long, which is how Daniel always had his hair. And Kyle's very attached to his hair. And I think that's some of his way of carrying Daniel with him.
I'd like to introduce my sweet little Natalie.
My parents were saying, like, write down things because we're not going to have, like, memories of when we were really young, because I was, like, in 5th grade. So, like, I didn't want to forget things. Like, I didn't want to think about what happened, but I didn't want to forget my brother. Just to see you smile, I do anything. That would just be awful to, like, ever be a grown-up and not remember things, like, it doesn't, I don't like it.
It's not weird though, like talking about him.
Yeah.
It's just like, nobody feels weird about it because it's only weird if you make it weird.
Yeah, it's just like good memories.
Yeah.
Does Kyle talk about Daniel?
Well, not a lot, just because I think it's more touching for him. But I mean, overall, I know he has this box where he keeps like a picture of him, or what would Daniel do bracelet, and I think it's like under his bed or something. And I think it's cute how he has that. Like some things you do like to remember people, and it's just for you.
Yeah.
It's just, you don't want anybody else to know about it or anything.
I keep telling myself, we did everything right. Every single parent who put their kid on the bus that morning did everything right. And those parents whose children survived and it bothers them and it hurts them, they also did everything right. And we have to hang on to that.
You know what Devin Pope is actually doing? What? He's writing a fan fiction now. Nobody in the troop likes Donald Trump. Keep this in mind, Dad.
Okay.
Nobody in the troop likes him.
Okay.
But Devin is writing a fan fiction where he's a space emperor and he has to stop the evil.
I remember my wife coming to me and saying, would you consider getting pregnant again? And I said, I cannot think about that right now. But a couple weeks later, I went back to her with my resounding yes. I thought it was a great idea. And the person I was thinking about wasn't me, and it wasn't my wife. It was our son, our surviving son. It was very important to us that he have another foundation to build on in his life.
Neat's little bro.
There he is with his dwarf hat.
You know, having his birthday on the party on the weekend for Maddie, you know, it was a hard day. When was the last time there was a first birthday in this house? I have a certain amount of envy toward my wife especially, who sees them all the time in her dreams. And to people who knew him well, who see him and talk to him. What was that? Can you get it? Look, here we go. Now we're gonna go the other way. Ready? There they go. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
How could someone who was in my life for 6 years suddenly be gone? It's impossible to understand. But he was here. He did exist. And he he has a legacy that I have to fulfill for him. And that I will fulfill for him.
Gun violence for me was always just something that I saw in the news, and I certainly never thought it would impact me or my community. And then it did.
Like the Hockleys, we moved to Newtown for the community and the schools. My wife Jackie is a school teacher. I'm a professional musician.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. And when we're coming into land, important thing is to get the feet up in front, okay?
Okay.
Might be coming a little fast for you, just kind of slide along. That's how easy it is.
For the first,
Do you remember that?
I do. I don't want closure. I mean, how could I ever possibly say, okay, I'm over this now? I mean, there is no closure. I had my first dream, real vivid dream that this happened, but somehow he got out, he emerged, and he was okay. And I just grabbed him and I held him to me, and I was just wailing and shrieking, crying in joy.